Bienvenue dans la Question Noire. En marge des entretiens thématiques, nous demanderons à chacun de nos invités de définir ce que nous appelons la noirceur politique. Voici l'une de leurs réponses.
So for me, to be politically black is to be black beyond how one looks or how even one is categorized wherever they might find themselves. I think all the time of Dr. John Henrik Clarke, who used to say that black tells you how you look, but it doesn't tell you where you're from. And that's why he always advocated that black people refer to themselves as African. I've also understood this as a way through my own personal experience as someone who can only be identified as black in the United States because being so-called mixed or biracial or multiracial or having a white parent as I do means that I can only be that I could not be identified as black certainly throughout Latin America, the Caribbean, and in many places throughout the diaspora. So for me, it's been very personal in the sense that to be politically black has meant to understand not only where I descend or where I find myself placed in an African diaspora, but to also understand the ways in which race and identity are politicized and used to support extractive and exploitative systems and systems of white supremacy and anti-blackness. So, for instance, even in this country, as we've looked at some of the so-called critical mixed race studies scholarship that has emerged over the last couple of decades, to look at the specific condition of so-called mixed race African Americans, there has been some very important research that has looked critically at the rise of even the category of biracial in this country as something developed by white women specifically with children who have had children with black fathers, but specifically did not want those children identified as would have historically been the case in this country as black, given the one-drop rule history in the United States, where if you have one drop of black blood, you're identified as black. But these white mothers of black children who did not want those black children identified as part or connected to specifically a black community, in other words, they wanted the specific experience with the fathers of those children, but not necessarily the entire community. It was they who pushed for this categorization of biracial or multiracial, particularly in the 1990s, to, I think, in part help the moment we're in now, where there is so much pride and discussion and promotion of multiracial experiences, but in a very depoliticized way. In other words, it's one thing to be perfectly proud and happy to be who you are and where you come from, but it's another to not see how that is politicized and used to participate in what is still a very real and obvious and ongoing extractive, exploitive relationship between so-called white and so-called black or African descended communities. So to be politically black, to me at least, is to understand and not only to appreciate one's culture and spiritual and historical connection to the African diaspora and to blackness itself, but to understand specifically how it's politicized so that it can be radically reorganized in a way that will redistribute, again, the wealth we're all participating in creating, and in such a way, ultimately, that wealth can be created without this kind of exploitation and extractive relationships at all, and that we can use our relationship and our understandings to our African diaspora and histories and cultures and identities to make real material and radical impact in this world and in our lives and lived experiences here and now.